It gaff till a gaff. It gaff till a gaff. I'm illy with the till a gaff. Illy with the till a gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff. Welcome everybody to Freethinking. I can't even get into anything today because this is a madness, like the Lost Poets song. This is madness. This is madness. R.I.P. JLL. I had a lot of love for you, my brother. Anyway, I recorded I won't say the perfect man, but I was really happy with the intro I recorded for this Mans Dem episode. This is a Mans Dem episode teaser, so I'm starting to do episodes with the Mans Dem. It's basically about breaking this podcast from just being me, reflecting my thoughts and talking a lot like I'm doing now, to starting interviewing. And I thought, who best to interview than my Mans Dem, because as you see, if you make it all the way to the intro, the real intro, those are the kind of podcasts I like. I had to re-record it because, frankly, the original time I recorded the intro, although it said everything I wanted it to say, and that's freaked out because, don't get me wrong, I don't write this shit down. I don't have no notes. So it kind of came out the way I wanted it to come out, and it is distorted to fuck. Like, it's unlistenable, kind of, really. And I figured if I put this as an intro, those of you who have been loyal and giving me love and listened to this in the first place, you wouldn't even listen past the intro, and then the Mans Dem wouldn't get to have any, you wouldn't get the benefit of what the Mans Dem had to say. So I've re-recorded the intro, but this isn't the intro. I've decided in true GGPLS fashion to put the intro last. So getting straight into the episodes, first you're going to find me talking to Mikkey. I chose this little snippet, not because it's the best part of our podcast, because it really ain't, but it just neatly, brings us into my introduction to podcasts. He introduced me to them first, actually, and talking a little bit about family, which is a bit of an introduction to what his real episode would be. That episode, the full podcast with Mikkey, will be out by the end of the year, and then after that, we'll get into another little snippet, another teaser of the podcast I did with my Kevin's fill-in business partner, Kevin. So honestly, you're gonna get firstly up snippet of my podcast with Mikkey, then a snippet of my podcast with Kevin, and then you're gonna get the actual intro, because at least you'd have got the real valuable information. And if you start listening to the actual original intro and you're like, fuck it, I just can't bear this shit, then you can turn off. And if you can, if you can bear it, then listen to the original intro, because it's what I really wanted to say. Sorry for being so fucked up, You've been listening to me all this time. I'm a fucked up kid. We're getting better. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this Mans Dem episode. I didn't want to trash the hard work that my guys did, to make themselves available to do this by putting an intro so bad that I wanted to listen to. So this is the prelude to the intro. The intro's at the end. The good stuff's in the middle. Typical GGP. This is Free Thinking, and I'm out.
Well, the first ones I started, because coming to the tech, I was listening to This Week in Tech. So when they started off, it was just audio, but then they moved, and then they had their own. They would broadcast their own video live at the same time, and then they would actually you could get a version on YouTube and other places.
Right.
And then plus they've got their own site as well, where you can just go back in history, and they've got all their podcasts for the last 10 years. You can still go back and listen to.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
So but no, because of what I said, because I said to yesterday, I said, I'm gonna do a podcast with Uncle Felix. And she goes, he's going to do a podcast. And I go, I sent you the link. And she goes, so is it? And she goes, something like, on YouTube. And I went, no, that's not a podcast. And she went, what do you mean it's not a podcast? And I went, exactly. And I was going, no, podcasts are audio. And then you have some people video them. She goes, but okay. She goes, I only know the video ones. And I go, yeah. They go, this is audio. And then she went, oh, okay.
Yeah, that is the reality. But you know what? They're a video generation, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing, I'm really trying to understand that, so I don't get it twisted. But I find it strange because what I got into podcasts about is that there's audio. The fact that I don't have to engage my eyes, so I can have it on in the background or in the car or whatever, da 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 da. So I don't really get why people listen to podcasts on a video.
I don't know, but because they're of that generation, they like to see something. I think they like to watch. I mean, because they're always on their phones, and they're not like, okay then. See, I listen to my podcast on my phone, like walking over and listen to a little bit of a podcast or something like that on my headphones. But for them, it's just whatever time they get. I mean, it's like when I speak to my students, and they're like, yeah, you know what I mean? Well, because I teach creative media as well. One of the things I say, well, you know, how much time do you spend watching TV as opposed to YouTube? And some of them are like, they can spend like 5 hours a day watching YouTube, and I was going, what do you watch? You know what I mean? But that's what they do. And if they're on their phone, you know, because it's not even like desktop computers or laptops, it's their phone.
Yeah, I feel that.
They just go home and then they're on their phone just watching YouTube videos and watching something on YouTube.
Now, mine are the same, really. Netflix and YouTube is all they watch.
So, yeah.
That's why it's kind of fun that we can live here because we don't need the living room.
Yeah.
Like I had that conversation. So, we have a living room, so we don't need a living room. I'm not taking the piss. The days when the family huddled around the TV to watch Hill Street Blues or Mine or Family Fortunes or whatever, them days are gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think, unless your kids are very young, by the time they hit like 8, 9, even if in the same room with you, they're not watching what you're watching.
Yeah. I mean, okay then, for us, if we are in the house and we always have dinner together on a Sunday and we will always watch a movie afterwards.
That's nice.
And that is about it. I mean, maybe on Saturdays as well, but guaranteed if we're all in the house on a Sunday, we'll always have dinner together.
But that's a lot.
And we'll always watch a movie.
You know the parenting things that you just abandon, but you kind of still screw about. Yeah, that's one of mine. That seriously, one of mine was we should always eat together at least once a week.
Yeah.
But to enforce that, you have to have backup, and like always, what happens with husband and wife agree on certain things, and certain things ain't such a big thing. Yeah. So vagina was never a big thing. But I was like, no, that's a fucking big thing to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a... you do it so I didn't have to tell you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's the one spot at which... Because it ain't even just, like, you know, spending time with your parents. Yeah. It's your siblings spending time with each other. Yeah. It's that whole vernacular, do you know what I mean? So, I know, for example, it is what it is, and I think it's healthy. Like, as I talk to me more. I don't think he talks to me more than... more than... But she does talk to me more than... I don't joke about it. I just say because men just grunt. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I have something to say to me, he'll come in and sit down and talk to me. He'll talk to me for like 2 hours. Right. But on a daily basis, just... Yeah, because men, there isn't always something to say. You know, we don't really sit down and bust gossip and... Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, on that level is more talkative. But I know if we're all around the table, then the vernacular is very different. You know what I mean? So I was... And I actually feel that, you know... I definitely feel that we lost something when I stopped enforcing that. I can't prove it, innit? Because, you know what I mean, you can't go back in time, but I feel that.
I don't know, yeah. But for me, for us, it's never been an enforced... I mean, because the other bit to that is like on Friday, well, for me, Friday's junk food day.
Yes, man.
It's the only day I really eat junk food. Every other day of the week, it's like cooked food. So, so when the girl... then that was probably the only other time all three of us would sit down and watch a movie together.
Right.
Yeah. So on a Friday evening, it'd be all three of us like eating junk food and watching a movie. But then on a Sunday, it would be all four of us. It changes now, but
yeah, true that. But that's kind of cool. That leads me nicely to what I wanted to talk about. I might actually record, and I've done this before, you know. Done on the damn thing and I'm not even recording. And you know what? I don't have to set peak levels and everything there, so who knows how this is going to come out.
You got to set the levels out.
I thought they'd got better.
I don't know. I mean, admittedly, I haven't listened to anything. I haven't listened to anything since probably February. I mean,
since we last talked. Yeah. I know, because I've sorted them out now, I haven't really. Yeah. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try, and I'm looking to bring in a VA. Who I can charge with the job of just creating some consistency. Because I check your buzz, I'm slapdash. I check the buzz. It almost probably doesn't matter where they're set as long as they're consistent.
Yeah.
So you can say if you was going to binge, you can go, yeah, I can leave them running. But even I know it's just like, but you know what? It's like on Instagram, it's the same thing.
Right.
Because but Instagram is different, obviously, because different people post different things. But I'm forever riding my volume button on Instagram. Because one post is just super loud, then it's supposed to go, do you know what I mean? So, what it is, I think, with me, because I'm kind of really focused on social media now, is I'm really seeing that social media is so unregulated and so slapdash. Even though you shouldn't take advantage of it, you kind of can get away with murder. And like I said, every time I hear a podcast on Skype, no matter what they do, Skype, motherfucker, you can get. And then the really important point is wang, 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 wang.
You know what? I don't understand. I mean, I know you do audio is easy, but for you, you're the dread in paradise, man. So why are you?
I love that. That should be the podcast.
You've got the visuals to make it work.
Dread in paradise. I like that. I'm sold on that. No, you know what it was? I'll be honest with you. It's because I started doing it in the house.
Right.
But that isn't a very good environment to do a podcast. Trust me when I tell you, trying to get light into that bitch is almost impossible. Because you draw this back and it's too bright, because the sun just mash up everything, you leave it drawn, it's really dark. So I think I only ever did one for whatever, if it was just like that particular day, the lighting was good, I got lucky.
You need to go buy some LED lights, man.
Yeah, but remember, this is a hobby. That's the thing. If it ever got to the point where it was like, yeah, I could monetize this even enough to make it pay for itself, I would start investing in it.
This is where you collab with and then those LED lights double up as lights he can use when he's out and about.
That's a good idea. No, for real. But like I said, this has always been on a shoestring. In fact, even with regards, as you can tell, to the amount of time I put into it. And it is just because I'm kind of thinking, I enjoy it, man. I'm doing a couple of things now that I kind of just do for enjoyment, which I might really regret. But it's literally like, okay, so you spend all your day doing business. But you got a creative side. So this is just a good opportunity for me to go, do that because it's fun. And Instagram, I mean, for me, Instagram is kind of like perfect for me. Really. Because all the things that I kind of do naturally, like really stupid ideas or skits or choruses, when I get my balls to grow a big enough pair of balls, I can just fling all that shit on Instagram. And what it means is that you don't have to fucking write songs and officially make music. You know what I mean? Like you can get literally the same. Because I would do like have an idea about something, but to do anything with it, you actually have to fucking write and produce a song around it. Put all that effort into it. And then someone come along and say, that's shit. Whereas now, well, I don't know if Instagram is meant to be that, but that's how I see Instagram. I see Instagram like, bro, I could have an idea for a tune. You know what I mean? And just fling it out there for like a 30-second thing, see if people are feeling it, and get all that buzz back without actually having to go through the rigmarole of actually making a song.
See, that's the thing, because like I said to you when I was coming over on the plane, and I was watching this girl just like flicking through Instagram, and I was going, boy, some people put loads of effort into taking these photos, and like you spent less than 1 second on it, and I'm just like, okay.
And that's, I think, what's made for me.
Right.
Because it was Nick smashing it. Kings of Lo-Fi.
Yeah.
So my thing is, and that's what I'm trying to say, I shouldn't use it as an excuse, because I know it's not right. But because I know people put minimal effort into looking into Instagram, I'm kind of really warming to it now. Because I'm like, well, that's great. Because I don't have to do a flying come out there, I put into the, because I'm really getting it. Yeah. Like I remember I did one thing the other day. I can't remember what it was. I think they were brochures or something for business. And the guy was designing the print was putting a load of effort into it. I said, don't put that much effort into it. He's like, no. I said, no, seriously, just look at it. He's like, why? I said, because 95% of them are going to end up on the floor. Yeah, as if you know that from the outset. You just know, don't put that much effort into it. Have the information there, big, loud, broad. Information, main selling point, phone number. It's done. I mean, go over that. But I see Instagram like that. And I could be wrong, because I used to think podcast was like that. But then someone got me into the British Podcast Awards, and when I saw who won, I was like, rah. There's a guy called something like, have you seen George's podcast?
Right.
But it's really fucking good. I was a bit offended And I know some of the other people who do this kind of podcast were offended because what it was is that the British Podcast Awards are kind of run by the BBC.
Right.
So, like, it's a very BBC super produced podcast. Even though it's not made by the BBC.
Yeah.
It just fits into that mold perfectly. It's basically like drama. Like a kind of a 21st century Merchant Ivory almost kind of. I know it sounds like Mark Kermode, but like a 21st century Merchant Ivory, but black, surrealist fable. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm dealing with now. The podcast I like to listen to, I like Horrible Decisions, or what's the other one called again? Cocktails, or there's one guy called So Shameless, and that's just man and woman just talking greasy and bracking joke. I mean, so the most produced them things ever get is that maybe like there's an interlude and they drop a bit of music.
Yeah.
But this thing was like, it was like he was speaking, but it was poetic, and then there's some music mixed into it, and then the kids laughing in the back. Fucking
proper produced then. It's like,
it was literally like really like, as you said, full circle, like listening to when before TV was made, like proper or something audio that had been on the radio.
Yeah.
So I ain't hating it. I pick up the guy's a black guy and it's awesome, but it isn't just it's not what I relate to as podcasts. And I suppose that's where there's all these different versions, isn't it? Telling the dog like seen that.
So yeah, watch you know.
Do you want to hear the joke? My dad said to me, he goes, "Shave your beard." Good job, we didn't see me there. That's funny. I thought exactly that. I was crying. I said, I just shaved it off. He goes, "Nah, man, you need a shave." I said, "Wow, okay."
I tell your dad's still clean shaven then, is he?
Clean. I don't even know where you find time, but my dad used to use a blade, didn't it? Nah, that's brave, man. I don't like putting blade in my throat.
Like I said, that was me talking to Mikkey, and we started off. I used that. No, it's not really the best part of the episode I did with him. I just used that little snippet because we started talking about podcasts, and obviously, podcasts is what I'm doing right now. And then we moved into a little bit about what we talk about really in the main podcast, which is about families and raising children and stuff like that. So that's going to be an awesome episode. Lots of really interesting stuff in that, which will be out before the end of the year. I'll get it together and get it out before the end of the year. That was a little snippet, a little taster. That's what this is. This is a taster of the Mans Dem episodes. So one more taster for you today. This is going to be me and my Kevix Verlin business partner. And we started off, it wasn't even recorded as a podcast. It was originally our weekly business strategy calls, which I always record. And I just thought this little snippet was kind of useful. That's why, unfortunately, there's a little bit of wind in the background because I didn't plan and purposefully for it to be released as a podcast. But it was just interesting because we were talking about access and expectations and how, it's difficult for some people to, have their influences to get up there and do what they want to achieve in business. And then we move on to some other things as we always do. So listen, check this one out. This is me and Kevin talking about access and opportunity. A lot of it, just so to jump in, to me, what you said is that isn't determination. You're right. I really believe this is expectation. Yeah, it's expectation. So he expects to be successful. He expects people to lend him more money. This is the difference. And I've had this. If I borrowed some money or did deal with a client or whatever joint venture and it fucked up, I think that I fucked up. That's the end of my world, and no one should ever lend me any money because I have this belief that if I was successful, it was part luck. Whereas the opposite mentality is he expects to be successful. So that's why a lot of these people would think that, that this is a form of arrogance because it's just like, oh, right, if this has gone wrong, okay, well, that's just for now because I know I'm going to be successful. Mm-hmm. Why? My dad was successful. I went to a public school. All my friends are multi-billionaires. No matter who else came from other universities, got the same degrees, they're still earning 3 times as much. So I expect to stay in that group. I expect to stay at that level. And it's that expectation that allows him to keep on going back to business borrowing more money. Because he doesn't for 1 second think he will fail.
But I think that the other side of it, we'll talk about what I tried to allude to. Like, for example, you've been in business for 20 years, yeah? Mm. So, therefore, you might make a decision, even a financial decision. For example, you say, I'm going for a cushion to win, going to throw money at that because this is what I do as a business person, because this is now my expectations of business.
Mm.
Yeah? I would look at that and think, rotted, what are you doing, brethren? And I'm cautious about it because I haven't got the same expectations of business because I'm not used to it. So I think sometimes with in the industry I'm in, I knew that I could ride it out. Like, for example, I would talk to CEOs just recently in that the whole insert of whole upset of money, which is going to be put back into a mutual. And I knew it was going to come. I just didn't know when. So therefore, I had the expectation that money was going to get put back into it. It was just about, all right, then just ride it out on the minimal and just wait. Most of the people jump out of the field saying, "Boy, this thing is not going to work for us." Blah blah blah. And it's not even that I want to stay in youth. It's just that kind of thing of you kind of work with what you're used to, and then you just kind of when it goes good, you know it's going to happen. When it goes bad, you also know that's going to happen. And so I think part of the change in the mindset thing for around that is that we have to know that sometimes, even when you know an industry is pushed to the wind, blah blah blah, etc., learn some other skill, some other thing, which might actually take you away from where your comfort zone is, because your comfort zone. If, like, for example, give this example a lot. She's saying there were jobs out there 10 years ago that doesn't exist today.
Right.
So therefore, if your comfort zone was just to rely on what you're doing in that, and you always knew that you're going to land on your feet, then suddenly it doesn't exist anymore. What the hell do you do?
No, that's really real, bro. That's really real. In fact, that is like the cause of Brexit and the cause of Donald Trump. If you look at the root of the basis of these people who voted for those things, it was people who had, my dad was a miner, my great granddad was a miner. These industries always existed, and then bang, they didn't, and no one looked up and said, "Rah, there's a whole fucking town with nothing going on, and let's give them something else." In fact, you know what I mean? Yep.
And so I think thinking more than just the complexity of expectation. I think I think people actually, for the majority of the time, thrive in what they expect to get. It's just that a lot of us do not have high expectations.
This is really my belief. That's what it is. I think we have a lot of views of, for want of a better word, the upper classes. And my belief at this moment in time is it's more to do with access and expectation than anything else.
Right.
They expect success and they have the access to achieve it because they can pick up the phone to people who can help them to that. And the access is one of the things that like I said before, I really want to drill into, because I think we really need to start the access. And one of the biggest mistakes I think we make, which is going to be controversial, is we're always looking in the black community for access within ourselves.
That's correct.
Do you know what I mean? And there are loads of reasons why other people won't give us access, but we often forget that just like any sales job, if you ask 10 people and 9 say no, you only need the 1 to say yes.
Right.
And then we'll see a black guy with a successful white guy getting trained up and moving forward and go sell out. And these are our blockers. Because we just don't discuss it. We don't have the access to get to where we want to get to. We don't normally know anybody in our community who has access to help us, really. But we don't go to the people who are willing to help us who does. So what the fuck are we expecting?
Right. But I think for people like you and I, we have got different expectations to most people. Because like I said, most people I know, like for example, like I know people work as teachers, for example, and they say, my expectation is that I'm going to work as a teacher. I work my way up to a curriculum leader or whatever it may be. And the majority of them do that. They work their way up to curriculum leaders, or they work on a transport and say, my expectation is to work my way up to be an inspector. And most of them do that. Most of people work their way to the point of it. They get their expectations. It's just that their expectations isn't beyond staying working for that person to get that wage, or they might say, my expectation is to get 25 grand a year, and most of them will get that. But
Exactly, fam.
they will get what they expect.
And let me give it. Karen.
Yeah, but I'm saying the majority of us actually do not try to go any further. And I think there's more than. It's not just about access. It's not just about access. I would say so. One of the things which I learned quite a few years ago, and I think it is so true, is that we as people naturally, you know what I mean, it doesn't matter what class you are frightened of failure because failure hurts. And the majority of us are frightened of success because it's the unknown. And most of us are frightened of the unknown.
But this is my thing. But if you were surrounded by successful people, then success would be less unknown.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean about access. That's part of my definition of it. That if all of my uncles, my friends, my school friends, everybody in my environment, most people in my environment, were what people call quote unquote successful, then success doesn't frighten me so much because I'm around it. Whereas you're right. If I'm in an environment where people are living and they're getting by, but let's say I want to become a successful footballer or a successful musician, or and those are stereotypes, but still, we know how many people tell you, you're trying that music thing for man, that's never going to work. But here's the thing. They don't tell, I'm trying to think of a good example now. Like, there's certain musical artists. Like, sometimes you see a TV program or whatever, and you say, oh, yeah, this guy's dad and his uncle, and they were all actors. Like Daniel Radcliffe. So we've got a writer in the family. So they're not scared or confused about success in the arts because they got 3 or 4 generations of it.
Yeah.
So firstly, they can pick up the phone to someone and go, hey, my son wants to be a blah, blah, blah. Can you give him a blah? And secondly, they've got the expectation of, well, I can be successful because my uncle and my auntie was. And we don't get that. No, when it comes to branching out on our own, we don't have those. I mean, I'm being honest with my brother. I cannot think of, let's say, my elders. I'm going to run this through my brain real quickly. No, I cannot think of a single person who ran a business in my circle. Not one.
No, I can't think of it either. But what I am saying is that we are viewing success on things like running businesses and so forth. I'm telling you that, like, my dad was probably telling you, coming over from Jamaica, worked as a carpenter, and he was successful working as a carpenter because that was his level of expectation and that was his level of success. And his success was, I worked to all be good people and blah, blah, blah. And so that's his success criteria. And I think it's about, so it's not so much about not being successful, because I think more people are successful in what they want to do. It is about how do you now push to the next level to say, all right, then let me keep on trying for another success criteria rather than just settling for the one.
Yeah, no, you know what, fam? I'm listening to you. I completely agree with that. I mean, I think we really underestimate what you just said, is the level of success, for example, our parents' generation. In fact, I think our generation, I've been saying this for a long time, and maybe the following generation has to kind of hold our head in shame. Because our parents' generation, but that's one of the reasons why I shift to Spain. Is so like, people go, you're going to go to Spain? Listen, man, I'm only going like 3 hours flight. My mum and dad came halfway across the world to country. They only heard about it in fucking songs and stories. To work and take jobs and like you said, move up till they got to the top of their field. Like, what the fuck? Are you having a laugh? And it's funny you should say that. I actually always took that as my inspiration. Regardless of the relationship with my parents, I was always well aware, as you said, of the success that they achieved. From their starting point to their end point, their plan. And my mum and dad literally worked their plan. They said, okay, everyone said it was going for a couple of years. They didn't go for a couple of years. Got the kids went to school. Obviously, shit changes. End of the day, me, the last one, come out of uni, they were gone. So, in terms of their plan, my mum and dad rocked that shit. Flipping worked their thing, got their yard in England, got their yard in St. Vincent, see everyone through the school and then bounce back home. So I would look to, like you said, with terms of that, I totally agree. But what was interesting to me is, like I said, in terms of what I wanted to do, I never had the success examples of access.
And I agree.
One of the things I picked up of really funny, I said this in the podcast, was Mikkey's brothers. One of his brothers passed away last year. And I said, yeah, the two brothers that they both used to work for Stasofro. They were like distributors. They were the first two young black men running a legitimate business I ever saw successful. I said to myself, I don't know if you even know that. I said, like, to come to your yard and your brother used to pull up in flipping brand new Astras, jump out, wet curl dripping all over the place because it was the industry. But you understand, them man looked like Miami Vice to me, and they were legal. They never had to look over their shoulder and run from no police. They were juggling nothing, and their businesses were huge. They were like supplying half of the UK. Okay. So they were my first example when I was looking at people in business like, fucking hell, whoa, you could actually do this shit.
You do not. And that's it. I knew a brother like that from years ago from when we was in school. But you know what? I got mixed messages with that. It was strange because he ran a property business.
Okay.
From when we was a black brother. And so what he would do was he would find all the property. He knew all about all the properties and so forth. But then he said, as soon as people saw him, he got no sales. So he had made right in front of the business, and he just gave him the information. And then the guy would go in there and go, yeah, whoa, this house has got this, four bedrooms, do. Oh, a little bit of damp there, whatever. And it's the white guy who was the face, although the brother had business, and he paid the white guy a wage.
See, and this is the Karen.
So the mix what I got there was, well, actually, the white man is running this business. You see what I mean? It was a head fuck for me. In school age, it was a head fuck for me. It really was.
Now, but you're making perfect sense, because the thing is, this is why when people say that, we don't know, there's no playing field. So these are the real challenges that people from certain backgrounds have. Because like you said, even, for example, like as you might have even known that guy, but I wouldn't have. So this is why I was saying, I wanted to go into property, but there was no one in my zone, no one in my environment I could look up to and go, this guy's making success of that. So at least I've got the expectation that it's possible, and maybe even reach out to him and go, hey, you're doing that, I really want to do that, and maybe get some access. But I wouldn't have known that, because the reality for that guy, because of racism, which everyone else pretend doesn't, but doesn't, the reality of the racism was that he couldn't run his own business in front of his own business. Therefore, he couldn't be an inspirational role model for me.
There you go.
So that's the shit that we had to deal with. This is what time I said to white people like that. I mean, that again, training, that's a prime example. I'm trying to say, of we're talking about these exact same things. That didn't have. I don't think, like Boris Johnson's uncle would have had to have gone and done that, thing a black man in there to make you think that, this is the government. They don't have them kind of issues. No. They get to stand up as who they are, promote their own businesses, and influence the people they need to influence, and influence the people that they don't even know they're influencing. So many years later, someone can come up and go, hey, you know what? Mr. Johnson, I always wanted to be a politician, and when I saw you stand up and down in Uxbridge, then I realised that's what I wanted to do. Whereas, who the hell could I say that about? Do you know what I mean? That's why now he's passed away, I'm regretful. I have so much respect for Bernie Grant. Because in my militant stages, I didn't really appreciate how much he was achieving. I couldn't get it until he was gone. No, and more so when he was replaced with David Lammy, then I realised how militant he was. Yeah.
I hear you 100%. But you know what? I've got a newfound respect for David Lammy over the last 2 years or so.
Okay, mine is growing slowly, but slowly being the operative word.
Right. Mine was, I couldn't stand the brother. But now he's actually standing up for issues which isn't just going to try and make him look sexy.
Yes.
And now he's started to show that he's got some kind of business now. So actually, some of his responses make me laugh. Like somebody recently wrote to him calling him out. What did they say? Something like, "You nigga, you should be hung and quartered and walk down the island, whatever. And you should be gone with the Windrush people and blah, blah, blah." And so he said, "Dear sir, I would just like to give you some factual history. Windrush and whatever it was totally two different eras. And furthermore, it's impossible for me to be hung and quartered and walk away at the same time."
No, I agree with you, man. I think he's stepping up a bit more. I see like with the Windrush thing, he stepped up. I tell you the best thing. I tell you the only time I ever stopped in my tracks and thought, okay, I respect this guy. They were talking about the knife crime problem, and again he was on a BBC thing, I forget, and he just said, "Listen, man," he said, "the UK has a cocaine problem," and he goes, "It's a huge problem that no one in this country wants to admit," and he goes, "It's a middle class cocaine problem, and this middle class cocaine problem is why young black kids are dying on the street." And I'm telling you, for the first time, he sounded like Bernie Grant. He's like the ghost of Bernie Grant went inside and opened up his mouth and just told the fucking uncomfortable truth. Because the thing I never liked about him was he was always a career politician. He was always, I'm just glad to be here. I'm earning good money, and I'm not going to rock the boat. And even Diana Abbott, she became a career politician, but even because I looked at it like, okay, her background, we said, well, was going to throw at her and Linda Bellis were like fucking militant.
Yeah, I remember.
So I don't mind her getting older and being more relaxed, and you understand, because I'm like, I know where you was not fucking ramping and you used to stand up and tell it how it was. So I didn't mind that, but I just thought, let me roll in on some middle class boy, whatever university. Yeah, I'm a politician and I got voted because I'm black and I ain't really do nothing for black people.
Right. And I tell you what infuriated me the most about him is, and I'm a Tottenham lad, and he was a Tottenham lad loosely in that he did Boys Brigade in Tottenham, and I think he might have gone in Tottenham a little bit, but he didn't do anything in Tottenham.
Yeah, not a career politician, man. I couldn't stand the guy. It was just career politics. He was always like a Jewish guy from Brighton going to Hemel Hempstead or, you know what I mean, or Golders Green and getting voted on the Jewish vote, and then pissing off back to Brighton and spending his time there and just pushing the policy for the government to make sure that he got another cabinet position.
That's
and
correct.
the people are like, hold on a minute, we voted for you. What the fuck? You're our MP first. So I agree. It's only now I see him doing any little something.
Okay, so there you have it. It's the Mans Dem episodes. As I said, just a couple of snippets. I plan to do a lot more because, as I pointed out clearly in the first snippet with talking to Mikkey, these are the kind of podcasts I like. That's why this podcast is like this. I just want to hear real people talking, and this is really how I want to start transitioning this podcast into just being me, putting the world to rights and giving my opinions, etc., having a bit of fun, to actually transition to start bringing on some more people that I can actually interview and explore some of these issues a little bit deeper, not particularly with any more research or professionality, but definitely researching issues a bit deeper, have some other voices, have a bit more of a debate going on. So that's where we're heading with this, and that's basically where the idea of doing this came from. So we start with the Mans Dem episodes, then we're going to go into doing more interviews, and that's the direction we're going to be taking this. So thank you for tuning in, and anybody actually wants to get involved, hit us up in the comments. Please share if you think that anyone else would appreciate this, and let's keep it moving. Thank you very much.
Okay, and here is the original, grossly distorted and pretty damn fucked up intro, just in case you wanted to hear it.
So we're back again, and this is the Grand God of Papa. This is Freethinking. This is a podcast for, God damn. Maybe I should go listen to an old podcast to say this podcast is for. Anyway, no alarm today because we're doing something new and I'm really, really excited about it. Effectively, what has happened is I had planned to grow this podcast and to embellish this podcast in different ways. And one of the things that I promised myself after a year of doing it, to see if I still enjoyed doing it, if it's still therapeutic, still cathartic, still worth my time. This is my hobby time. It's not business time. If you listen to one of my business brain podcasts, you know that I have a business aim, a business goal of being a cash millionaire in 5 years. So you can imagine, I got shit to do. I got shit to do. You know what I mean? I'm not just hanging out here. I got a lot of stuff to do. I've got businesses to run. I got a lot of learning to do, I got a lot of management to do, a lot of work to do. But the point is, I love doing this, actually. It's like, one of my expressions. I get to express myself creatively. And as I said, it's really great therapy. It's very cathartic is the word I'm looking for. So anyway, I had always decided to, like I said, with all business things, I always advise all business things, give it a year. so you don't bail out too early, and see how you feel, see if it's still worth doing. And I knew already that, it was worth doing for me. I still enjoy it. I'm so grateful for the people who tune into this podcast, man. You guys are awesome. Do you know what I mean? Tuning into, listening to me, spout and rant and philosophize and think. It's just absolutely awesome. So in terms of growth, what I always wanted to do with this podcast was move it from a one-man band. I'm like a kid in the 70s, but I wasn't like 10 or 12 in the 70s. I was like born in the 70s, but I remember all that kind of shit, man. So every time I think of one-man band, I think of that. And yeah, I absolutely, I wanted to move this from being a one-man band into doing some interviews, but I wanted to make sure it's something I wanted to continue doing first, which is why hence the first year. So although it's not the first year, but I was saying business brain that just get it started because you never get it perfect. I had meant to do this for my anniversary, which would have been the August episode, because I launched it on my birthday. I launched the podcast around my birthday, August 2018, and so August 2019 would have been the time to do this. But trying to get your friends together was like herding cats, right? So I reached out to my friends. Admittedly, I was late. Like I said, let's go back. I'm busy, but I reached out to my boys, the Mans Dem. That includes the women's Dem, actually. Where that's just a generic term for the crew. Some people will call it the crew, or your homies, or your set, or your squad, as the young people would call them now. And I reached out to them and I said, yo, I want some of you guys to jump on my podcast, because I want to start doing interviews. So I had kind of something in my mind of the way it was going to go, but it's really hard to get people together. So I've decided to just go with what I got, because I love my peoples, and just like me, they busy. You know what I mean? And we couldn't get it together. We couldn't synchronize our calendars. So I got a real treat today. I got two of the crew, the Mans Dem, the squad. I love all my peoples, man. So I ain't gonna try bigging up peoples more than other peoples, because actually I love all my peoples. I'm truly blessed, But these two people, I've known since I was 11 years old. So we are talking like almost 40 years that I've been friends with these peoples, man. So it's super special for me. All from school. And what I did is I just said, look, come. One of them was a Skype call, so the quality might not be consistent all the way through. But if you listen to podcasts, if people do podcast interviews over Skype calls, you'll be used to that. That one's a bit of a bitch, actually, because I was actually outside with the Skype call. There's a little bit of wind messing around, but I think the points come through pretty well. That's pretty cool. That's an interview with my Kevin's fill-in partner, Kevin, which will be at the end of this. And then before that, I want to go straight into an interview with my homeboy, Mikkey. And what we're doing, we're just, what I said, with the Mans Dem episodes, because what I love about podcasts the most, and I've had this conversation with people, is, you've got things like, very well produced and super thought out and super researched podcasts, which are great. I love them. I love Freethinking, and I love, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. I love How to Make Money podcast. There's a lot of really well thought out research. The last one probably not so much, but those guys don't really know their stuff, And then there are some other podcasts, Libertarian, are really well thought out, really well researched and stuff like that. And I really appreciate that stuff for what it is. But my personal preference for podcasts, as I say, is just a couple of brethrens, a couple of friends just talking greasy. Which is why, my favorite podcast, the podcast I listen to most often, are probably Horrible Decisions. Shout out to Weezy and Mandy B. Y'all just keep me cracking up, laughing. I kind of usually do that when I'm doing something downtime, like if I'm walking the dog and I listen to an audio book or a business podcast. I listen to them. Equally, I listen to Cocktails with Kiki and Medina. And what's cool about that is, I love those guys. They're just like the Horrible Decisions. And it's funny because I did a Freestyle Fridays over the end beat one day because I was listening to it. And as I came in the house, I was listening to it, and the outro music kicked in, and I just was like, oh, I want to do a Freestyle Friday, so I did one over there. So that was kind of fun. So, so those are the kind of podcasts that I'm enjoying. There was one podcast called the Joey P Project or something like that. This guy, he's a bit like Kim Jong-un to me. Like, apparently Kim Jong-un only did one, only ever played golf once, did one round of golf and scored a perfect. I believe that. I believe that's not fake news. I believe that. So apparently he scored a perfect score and the only round of golf he ever played. And the Joey P project's a bit like that. He just did his podcast. I thought the podcast was fucking awesome, but he only ever did one episode. It's like, he's just like, there you go. That's my legacy. I exist. And he's out of there. But I really enjoyed it. I was like, come back, Joey P. Fucking podcast was awesome. A bit like me. You're just sitting down talking about the world. Like, what the fuck is this? And putting his opinion on it. And I absolutely loved it. There are more. Come up to reach my phones now. My iPhone's my backup phone because I hate Apple and all Apple devices, as you probably know. So, I use that as my backup phone. I play my podcast and my audio books, and I take that, when I'm going on my morning walk, my jog, or playing basketball, or going to the beach, or whatever it is. If that phone gets lost, it's an iPhone, right? Who gives a fuck? So, anywho, I really enjoyed that. She said that again. If that phone gets lost, I shouldn't tempt fate, but that phone gets lost. It's my phone. Who gives a shit? I ain't like lose a phone I actually value and appreciate and works properly and is efficient and functional and helps with my business. So anyway, anyway, I get too much joy from this in Apple because it's so shit. The fucking cult of Apple devotees, just I love them because they're good people. So I got a lot of them in my circle, but I just they just can't see past it. It just blows my mind. So so do you know what I mean? I can't pull up all the podcasts I listen to. I probably should do an episode on all the podcasts I listen to as well. That would be a good idea. I'm not going to listen to as much as I'd like to because there just isn't any time between. My audio books, like, you know what I mean? They're just listed, lined up, and I should really be re-listening to some of these audio books. So I tend to do that more than anything else. And when I get some downtime, I'll flick through the podcasts and I'll see which podcasts I want to listen to. Tej Talks property is pretty fucking awesome. That's one of the ones I listen to regular. Shout out to Tej. Guy's just awesome. Really, really natural. He's a natural. Dustin Rhodes, a natural, straight up. What else, man? Jay Dillon's Business Mentor podcast I listen to quite a lot. Great information in that. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, Libertarian, I think I mentioned before. Black Talk Radio. I like Black Talk Radio a lot. That's pretty heavy, but like I said, I just don't have the time to really dedicate. And Jasmine Sullivan, Black Girl Experience, pretty damn good as well. I like her because she does a lot of short episodes, which just suits me really well. And also she has a little kind of freestyle thing she does, which I check for. And how could I forget? I am the walrus. Woo! I am a walrus. Woo! No, that's the wrong way, right? No, sorry, I got it wrong. It's they are the Eggman. Woo! They are the Eggman. Woo! I am the walrus. Cuckoo, kitchu. Yeah, what is that about? Gavin Wall, the Speed Mentor podcast. Fucking awesome. I just came back to my mind when I was talking about short form podcast. He does like 15-minute podcasts, which I guess is in line with the speed mentoring. I have the privilege of meeting Gavin Ward. He's an awesome person, but his podcast is off the fucking charts. It's truly up there with my faves. So, so actually that as Mansdem would say, that's a stegoon. You live the horrible decisions, man. But you have to be of my mentality and not believe in monogamy and be really into it. I'm the kind of guy, like, I watch Channel 5. Because Channel 5 has all them like freaky ass sex programs, like men who date rubber dolls, or there's another one with male dolls where they kind of put on a doll outfit that completely, not like clothes, like a rubber skin that completely covers themselves, and then dress up as dolls and look in the mirror and stuff like that, and then they have like dolls parties. Then there's another one with a guy, I can't remember, the guy was like, called a sex mechanic. And he was a sex mechanic. He was very weird. He was helping women who never orgasm before come to orgasm, but not by penetration, but by by other means. And then there was what's the other one that was that? Yeah, I love the Freaky Friday. I just find that shit so interesting. So maybe Horrible Decisions and cocktails and fucks given, maybe that stuff isn't for you if that's not really the kind of thing your temperament really deals with very well. But for me, that stuff's great. So as I was saying, back to Mandy B from Horrible Decisions, I said, so that's just a neat little segue into my first interview, which was with my homeboy Mikkey. Like I said, no, my guy forever. And basically he came out here. He was out here, so I had the opportunity to stick my Tascam under his nose and say, yo, let's just talk now. Before I go into this, just understand these podcasts are Mans Dem episodes, because like I said, the reason I made this big long intro is because the podcasts I like are just two friends talking greasy. Now don't get me wrong, all the podcasts I mentioned, were the ones that have that form. Oh yeah, by the way, how could I forget So Shameless? Man like Tahoe. Blah. Do you know what I mean? So Shameless, another prime example of just Mans Dem talking greasy. So yeah, he's got him and his girl and his boy, and they're just talking to that. And then obviously there is the legendary drink Shaps, which I have mentioned in the past as well. I don't listen to it as often as I should, mainly because them guys are high and drunk and they just talk for fucking ever. I don't have enough life. Like, I spend time in my life to listen to one episode of Drink Champs. I kind of tend to get the clips and they come out on Instagram and shit. But the point I'm making is that so that's what these are. These are Mans Dem episodes, and there will be a few. I want to get all the Mans Dem, including the women. Yes, I know they're sexist, doesn't make any sense, but then this is colloquial slang, so fuck you. Colloquialisms. So this is Mans Dem episodes, and what I'm going to do is, we're just going to chat. I just, anything they want to talk about, that's what we're going to talk about. So let me thank you, Mandy B, aka. Now that's too much fish rock. You played too much Pookie. Let me segue straight into one of the Mans Dem episodes, starting with my boy Mikkey. And then we're going to go into me and my chat. We'll chat with my homie Kevin.
It gaff till a gaff. It gaff till a gaff. I'm illy with the till a gaff. Illy with the till a gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff.